Before we begin, I want to make something very clear. This episode is intended for educational and awareness purposes only. The goal is not to shame victims, exploit tragedy, or create fear. The goal is to educate parents, guardians, educators, and community members about the very real dangers children face both online and in everyday environments. The cases discussed in this episode are based on publicly reported information, court records, law enforcement announcements, and news coverage available at the time of recording. Allegations, unless proven in court, and every person accused of a crime is presumed innocent until proven guilty. If this episode helps even one parent recognize a warning sign, start an important conversation, or protect a child from becoming a victim, then it has served its purpose. I've been noticing an increasing amount of stories online surrounding AI-generated child sexual abuse material, better known as CSAM for short. And it used to be that we had to be careful of our perverted fathers, uncles, and cousins. But now our children have access to the world. And what's worse is that the world has access to them 24/7. Look, I live here. It's not like I'm floating around cyberspace just talking to a screen. I'm not a mother, but I'm a daughter, a sister, a former victim of sexual abuse, and I have nieces and nephews whom I love and I would give my life for, especially if someone ever tried to hurt them. But every time I open up my news app, I see another story of an educator, a principal, an army soldier, or regular loser, perverted, pedophile civilian who has abused another child. And they're not even touching them physically. It's now as easy as grabbing an image of them online. With the creation of new technology comes new dangers as well. There will always be good people, and there will always be predators. Evil people know exactly how to turn a useful tool into something sinister. I don't know about you, but I felt slapped across the face with AI after we all started going back to work rather, following the COVID pandemic. I remember seeing new posts on our social media pages at work and thinking, wow, I love the way this post was structured. One day this happened in real time and I asked my communication team, hey, who posted that on Facebook? And our media services web developing employee said he had done it and received all the praise for it. But he had never told me he had used something called ChatGPT to do it. This was a few years ago, going back. I was completely oblivious. I had no clue AI was emerging the way it was, because like always, I'm doing a million things at a time. I have a feeling you felt the same way about it. As 2026, AI-generated images, or better known as AI slop, have completely taken over our pages. So while we're thinking that this technology was created solely for the good of humanity, there are predators always lurking and staying abreast of the latest gadgets just to try and find a new way to exploit others, especially children, the most vulnerable. So here's what predators are doing right now. Right now, somewhere, there are people taking publicly available images of children and attempting to misuse AI tools to exploit them. Predators are no longer creeping into your lawns at night or waiting for your child to leave school. They're not hanging around the mall or taking pictures of them in the restroom. They're now abusing children from the comfort of their own homes and work offices. From their privacy, they're taking the liberty to save your child's images and asking AI to recreate child pornography. And if you're not convinced, let me prove it to you. On June 2025, a sixth grade teacher from Florida faced 25 felony charges after allegedly using AI to create child sexual abuse material featuring his own students.
David McEwen, a former sixth grade teacher, was sentenced to 135 years in prison for possessing child and animal sex material. Prosecutors say he used AI to generate it. He was arrested back in June after entering a plea.
This case, along with others I will be talking about today, mark a disgusting and horrific new frontier in digital exploitation. David McEwen was a middle school teacher at United Brethren Christ Academy in Florida and was arrested after a tip revealed he was using AI to create pornographic content with photos of his own students as references. He wasn't just any sixth grade teacher. He was respected by his community. He was respected by his colleagues, students, and parents. So apparently, he was using Discord, which is a real time communication platform that lets users connect via text, voice calls, and video chats. But this platform is mostly used by teens and gamers. He had no business there. So after the tip, police were able to track the account on Discord back to McCowan. And that's where they found more than 19 explicit images showing child abuse and 6 graphic videos of himself having sex acts with an animal. Yes, even bestiality. Let's pause there for a minute. Because imagine your child's sixth grade teacher making videos with animals and practicing bestiality on top of creating child pornography with kids he teaches. How terrifying is it to know that the person you trust with your child every day is doing this? This situation is bad enough to give us all nightmares. Someone who takes photos of his students to create child pornography has absolutely no regard for humanity. Regarding the case, the Florida Attorney General James Uthmer said, as a teacher, parents trusted Mr. McCowan to impact knowledge to the children. Instead, he spent parts of the school day sending and receiving child sexual abuse material and providing other pedophiles with UPIC Academy students as personal information. What he did is beyond betrayal. It's devastating and sick. Our office and statewide prosecution will aggressively pursue justice for these children and their parents, end quote. He did all of this not only during school hours, but with the school's property and Wi-Fi, which, by the way, are all services paid for with the hard-earned money of the parents who, I'm sure, are paying every semester to have their child educated at a private Christian school. My point is, he never had to go out of his house to look for his victims. They were already in front of him every single day. That's what trust looks like when it's abused. Imagine being 12 years old again and finding out that your own teacher just used your pictures taken at school to satisfy his personal needs. Sometimes people don't identify with these types of cases or stories because it hasn't happened to them, but just for a minute, imagine you were that child again. That's what these kids are feeling. The only great thing about these predators is that they're actually stupid. They are literally stupid, and this helps them get caught. So thank you for that stupidity. But you know what? This raises important questions about whether schools have the cybersecurity tools necessary to detect this kind of activity in the first place. At least where I work, you cannot even stay on YouTube too long without you being flagged. We can't even send extremely long emails with all these attachments without IT flagging them. So why is it so easy for a teacher to do this during work hours and on company property? We know that public schools are largely neglected by the state, but this is a private Christian middle school. The parents pay to have their children receive the best education their money can buy. And at the very least, the institution should have a cybersecurity system in place that protects their students. This case isn't just about one predator. This episode is not about that. It's about how easy the access is to their victims on a daily basis. And just when you think these stories can't get any more disturbing, they actually do. Earlier this year, 31-year-old Adan Covarrubias of Carrizo Springs, Texas, began targeting children by downloading photographs that schools had already posted publicly on their social media pages. Again, with the parents' full consent. These images were probably just celebrating a football game, a choir concert, a science fair, but not for a predator. These aren't just innocent images. Like the Florida case, Covarrubias used AI to manipulate the pictures of students and turn them into sexually explicit images in Austin and in South Texas. More than 900 pictures and videos were seized from the devices in his house, and they also found non-AI child sexual abuse material during the search, just to top it off. As they kept looking into this predator, investigators learned that he actually had victimized over 30 children from South Texas using AI. And it was as easy as him just going onto social media to find public images posted of schools posting their children. This case is also significant for another reason. The charge filed against Covarrubias, which was possession of computer-generated child pornography, was only possible because of Senate Bill 20, a Texas law that barely took effect after lawmakers recognized that artificial intelligence was creating an entirely new form of child exploitation. Without Senate Bill 20, prosecutors may have had far fewer options to pursue criminal charges involving AI-generated CSAM. We need to move faster, guys. That's how I feel. AI is not waiting around to see if someone opposes their content. And you as a parent, sibling, or grandparent shouldn't wait until your child becomes a victim before you do something about this. When announcing arrest, DPS Chief Floyd Goodwin from Austin said something every parent should hear. He warned that as AI becomes more accessible, more people will be misusing it to harm children. He says parents should talk to their children about online safety and encourage them to report anything that makes them uncomfortable, and to remember that technology is changing faster than many families can realize right now. Years ago, protecting your child meant just knowing where they spend time after school. Today, it also means thinking about where their pictures end up during the day, because your child doesn't have to send inappropriate photos to someone anymore. An innocent school picture or social media post will be perfectly fine for these predators. Unlike the Florida teacher, Covarrubias never needed a classroom. He never needed to earn a child's trust. All he needed was access to photographs that had already been shared online and approved by the school and by the parents. Mom, dad, you actually have full control over the exposure of your children. You can choose to not sign school sports waivers or school waivers in general. This is a new world we're living in, and a new mentality is needed to protect minors. I'm not in any way suggesting the radicalization of photography, but I am saying that 100% suggesting, actually, that you consider minimizing the exposure of your children. This episode isn't just about one predator, as I mentioned earlier. It's about the easy access predators have to children. Now, let's go up the map a little bit to Wisconsin, where in 2024, a man was federally charged for also creating AI-generated CSAM and sending those images to other minors. This is what we call grooming. Grooming is the process in which an abuser builds trust with a vulnerable target, like a child, a teen, or any dependent adult, and they use it to manipulate and exploit or sexually abuse them. It establishes power, normalizes boundary violations, and isolates the victim to prevent them from seeking help. His name is Stephen Attereg. Mind you, he's 42 years old and used a text-to-image generative artificial intelligence Gen I model called Stable Diffusion to create thousands of realistic images of prepubescent minors. Many of these images show nude children touching themselves and engaging in sex acts with grown men.
42-year-old Stephen Anderegg of Holman is accused of using a text-to-image generative AI to create thousands of realistic images of minors engaged in sexually explicit conduct. Anderegg was arrested after a federal grand jury in the Western District of Wisconsin indicted him. If convicted of all 4 counts alleged in the indictment, he faces a maximum penalty of 70 years in prison and a mandatory minimum of...
But his abuse of children didn't stop there. He actually got in contact with a 15-year-old boy through Instagram and slid into the child's DMs by sending CSAM material he had created using AI. These images were apparently of other minors displaying their private body parts. Luckily, Instagram reported Atteregg's account to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children for distributing these images. Now we've crossed another line. This isn't just about someone creating illegal images. This is about someone who's using those images to begin conversations with children. That's how grooming starts. Not always in person, but sometimes with a single direct message. However, this isn't the only problem in America. This isn't only isolated to us. AI-generated CSAM is running rampant around the world. This isn't an episode about one predator's isolated abuse towards children. It's about the easy and fast access they have to your child. In February of 2025, the European Union's police, known as Europol, arrested a total of 25 people across 19 countries after realizing they formed part of an online group that produces and distributes AI-generated child abuse images. This is one of the first international operations focused specifically on AI-generated CSAM. The main suspect is a Danish national who ran or runs an online platform where he and others distribute images they produce. The members of this group paid a symbolic online payment to access the platform. This case tells us that the child exploitation issue isn't just the work of one disturbed individual. It's an organized, global, and in some cases, even monetized issue. I don't know about how much a symbolic online payment, that's what they called it. I don't know how much that is, but I know that human trafficking and child abuse are booming businesses who also do not report their earnings. So I'm willing to bet that their membership may be something exorbitant because they will do anything and pay whatever just as long as they have access to your children. This is not an episode about a few predators. It's about the way children are easily accessible to them. And you want to hear something scarier than all of that for all my analytical people out there watching? According to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, reports involving AI-generated CSAM have exploded from 4,700 reports in 2023 to more than 400,000 just in the first half of 2025. And if those numbers don't make you uncomfortable, they should. Because behind every report is a child, not in a statistic. These cases are a sign of our times. We don't have to wait to watch this movie. It's actually happening in real time. And you're not paying enough attention. Some of our biggest fears are no longer science fiction. They're becoming a reality and part of our day-to-day. We've seen a ton of cases, especially with the so-called release of the Epstein files in recent months. And believe it or not, it's starting to desensitize the public. Some of the comments I've seen under these TikToks informing the public about these CSAM material, some of those articles in the bottom, it says, oh, that's always happened. Oh, tell us something we don't know. All the celebrities are involved. Those are the comments that come from people. And it's alarming to see how fast people are starting to just scroll by these stories. But if you're here watching this right now, I know you care. People in trusted positions are abusing their power by sending inappropriate messages to their students, having secret relationships, and in the most awful and foul cases, they abuse of these kids sexually. I reached out to the Hidalgo and Cameron County Sheriff's Department a few months ago, including the Brownsville Police Department, for an interview, and all of them declined. Actually, no, the Brownsville Police Department declined, and I never got a response from the Hidalgo and Cameron County Sheriff's Department. I reached out to them after reading an obscene amount of headlines regarding inappropriate relationships with students, child abuse, and the abuse of power just in the RGV. But I was also motivated to reach out to them after watching the Hidalgo County's department press conference regarding Operation Wildcat Watch. So Operation Wildcat Watch was a joint undercover sting conducted by the Edinburgh Police, along with Homeland Security Investigations, the Hidalgo County District Attorney's Office, and the U.S. Attorney's Office to protect children from our region.
These men preyed on what they believed to be minor children. I urge parents to know what your children are doing online, know who they're communicating with, know what presence they have on social media.
During the 3-day operation, undercover detectives pretended to be 16-year-old girls on chat sites to lure predators and apprehend suspects. In only 3 days, they were able to arrest 7 men who traveled to different locations to meet the perceived minor, and they were immediately met by undercover officers. 7 arrests in just 3 days. Think about that. The officers didn't create these predators. They were simply exposed people who were already out looking for children in the first place. That's how they found them. 6 of those suspects faced federal charges such as coercion and enticement of a minor, while one of them faced state charges for online solicitation of a minor and possession of a controlled substance.
Intended to have sex with minor girls. It is appalling that in today's time, social media provides such an avenue for these crimes to take place.
You can only imagine, was he going to give the substance to somebody else? The men arrested were from various parts of South Texas, including McAllen, Pharr, San Juan, Donna, and Rio Grande City. In my email to Chief Ayala and the Edinburgh Police Department, I said, I am currently preparing an episode focused on the growing concern of online child exploitation, including cases involving coercion, enticement, and the rise of AI-generated CSAM. Given the seriousness of this issue and its direct impact on families in the Rio Grande Valley, I would greatly value the opportunity to speak with you or any designated representative from your department. My goal is to help inform parents, teens, and the broader community by providing clear and factual information on the following: how operations like Wildcat Watch are initiated and carried out, trends your department is seeing in online exploitation cases, the role social media and technology are playing in these crimes, and practical steps families can take to protect themselves. So if any of these agencies are listening to this episode, I would love to have you join us on Cleiri The Show. I'm also calling out for experts and AI experts and child abuse experts to help us better understand what's going on and how we can help prevent the abuse to grow even further. So who is legally responsible to protect student images and personal data? Should the schools face liability for allowing the staff to produce CSAM during company time and with company equipment? I don't know the answer. What I do know is that schools are already under strong scrutiny to protect kids. But unfortunately, in many of the cases in the Rio Grande Valley, schools have appeared to act passively, at least to my personal opinion. I know a lot of educators, and I also have nieces and nephews, so I see both sides of the coin. I'm shocked to see how many schools photograph children and post them on social media on a regular basis. I can understand why parents consent to their kids being photographed, but I hope we can minimize the exposure a bit more. I also understand the innocence behind the posting. Teachers are excited to share the kids' accomplishments and what the school is partaking in. And I know the parents are excited too. They love to see their kids being featured on a school dance or walking across the stage during graduation. But you have to think about how easily kids are being displayed for predators online. Predators don't take a day off. I'll give you a personal example. I was at the mall once and I recognized a child before I even saw his parents. That shouldn't happen. Unless I know the family personally, I shouldn't recognize someone's child. As I kept walking, I realized why. Because I've seen the child grow in front of me on my social media pages. Mind you, I'm friends with his parents, not with him. And it's not that his parents are bad. They love their child and they want to share those moments with the world. But we live in a different world now. Our children aren't just exposed to their neighborhoods anymore. They're exposed to the world. Many child protection experts say predators are often looking for vulnerability, whether that's emotional isolation, inconsistent supervision, family instability, or children who are searching for attention and connection. These child exploitation cases are not happening to other people. They're happening to us here in Brownsville, Mission, Rio Grande City, Edinburgh, McAllen, and all the surrounding little cities. In recent months, we've seen an overwhelming amount of cases being reported by local news outlets. Here are some of the headlines I gathered just by Googling child abuse in the RGV. We have, for example, IDEA Mission's teacher who is accused of sexual misconduct with a student. We have a child grooming charge for South Texas coach and teacher. Improper relationship between educator and student in Hidalgo County. Teacher and student improper relationship in Sharyland. Rio Grande City teen facing new charges for enticing a 12-year-old. Different cities, different schools, different suspects, but the same pattern keeps repeating itself. Children are being targeted by adults who already have access to them. or by strangers who find access to them through technology. So, what can you do as a parent? Well, technology has changed everything, and it's creeped into our kids' bedrooms and onto their phone screens. But this happened a very long time ago. The nuisance now is AI. Children have always been in danger, but now more than ever. Check their phones. You actually have control over what they do and see online. I have some amazing friends who just bought their teen daughter a phone, and they are able to control everything the child does on a daily basis. Mind you, we will never be able to protect children, rather, um, from absolutely everything. That's impossible. But you can become aware of the new emerging dangers and prepare yourself as best you can. I obviously have a lot to say about this topic, and there are so many unanswered questions. I will keep putting pressure and following up with our law enforcement agencies, professors, experts, and advocates for assistance in continuing to grow this topic online because it matters. If we want a healthy future, the minds and bodies of our future generations need to be protected as well. We cannot look forward to a bright future if the minds and souls of those who will continue it are damaged or broken. If you learned or took something from this episode, hit the subscribe and like button. If you have something to add or share, please comment below and I will get back to you. Let's start stretching this conversation seriously. So tonight, before you go to bed, ask the child next to you this. If someone online made you uncomfortable, would you tell me? If they hesitate, don't panic. Listen, because that conversation might protect them more than any app ever could. Please subscribe to Cleiri The Show and thank you for watching. I'm Cleiri Quesada and I'll see you next time.